Luxembourg, Tony Prince. Luxembourg, Tony Prince.
It was August the 16th, 1977, when I walked into the studio of Radio Luxembourg's English service in the RTL building in the middle of the Villa Louvigny. My colleague Mark Wesley broke the news to me that Elvis had been found dead. The German and French DJs in the building were running up and down the corridors trying to get confirmation for their own radio shows. I ran downstairs to gather my pile of Elvis records. Within 15 minutes of my arrival, I was on the air. And just before I opened the microphone, I called my boss, Alan Keane, in London, and told him what had happened, and explained that I would not, under any circumstances, be able to play any commercials. He accepted this, and I will ever be grateful to Alan for that.
Radio Luxembourg.
This is Radio Luxembourg. From Fleet Street, 208 Daily Mirror News. We've just had reports confirming the death of Elvis Presley, who died in Memphis at the age of 42. He was rushed to a hospital in Memphis with respiratory trouble. He died of heart failure. We have no further news on this. As soon as we get details, naturally, we'll give them to you. And Tony Prince will be talking in just a moment. This has been Mark Wesley reporting for the Daily Mirror News Desk. Our London editor, Charlie Brooks, will be keeping you in touch with events concerning the death of Elvis Presley in just a moment.
Radio Luxembourg.
Then I opened the microphone.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tony Prince. 15 minutes ago, I walked into the studio here in Luxembourg, and Mark Wesley imported the news on me that the Daily Mirror had confirmed to him that Elvis Presley has died in the United States of America. Well, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, that this radio station was the first radio station in Europe to ever feature the man and his music. Maybe you also know that I am probably one of his biggest fans in the world. I met him twice. I've interviewed him twice. I've introduced him on stage in Las Vegas at the Hilton Hotel. And I've just had a little cry downstairs because it's like losing a father to me, a son. It's really deep down inside, and I know many of you will be feeling the same way. The next 4 hours in Luxembourg till close down at 3:15. The memory of the king.
Ooh, Radio Luxembourg.
Well, Mark Wesley said to me when I heard the news that Elvis Presley was dead, I didn't know whether to play God Save the Queen or anything, because it really felt like something like that, and I feel the same. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've just tuned into Radio Luxembourg, the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, aged 42 years of age, has died in his hometown, Memphis, Tennessee. Although he was born in Tupelo, Mississippi, in a shack that you wouldn't believe. He died in extreme wealth, a multi-millionaire at the age of 42. Music brought him his wealth, but the wealth that it brought to Elvis was nowhere in comparison to the wealth he brought to the world with his treatment of music, the way he changed music, the way he brought it into our heads. I just am unscripted for this show tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm taking you through to 4:45 British time, 4:45 European time, and it's going to be nothing but Elvis. If you want to know what happened, Elvis Presley died in hospital in Memphis today of a heart failure. He had a respiratory disease. That's the only information we have at the moment. Later on tonight, I hope to open up the telephone lines and have immediate comments from any Elvis Presley fans who are listening tonight. And later on, maybe Todd Slaughter, Elvis's long-serving friend and fan club secretary for Great Britain and the Commonwealth. I'm trying to contact him by telephone now. A deep despair falls over Radio Luxembourg tonight. Elvis Presley is dead. But believe you me, the sorrow we feel tonight will only grow in love and admiration for the guy who always promised to visit Britain and Europe but never quite made it, musically. 42 years on the planet, but he'll be here forever.
208. 208.
Elvis Presley is dead. Radio Luxembourg will live on. And I am Tony Prince, and I have an immense feeling of loss tonight. The telephone is ringing. I'm not going to put it on the air at the moment because I have to get over these deep feelings of loss that I'm feeling tonight. This is a historic moment in pop music. Elvis Presley died in Memphis, Tennessee today at the age of 42. We have very little information, but the Daily Mirror will keep us informed as we get on with the Elvis music we're playing for you tonight. I'll be opening up the telephone line later on for anyone who wants to express their feelings of Elvis's death. What can I say? There isn't really a lot to say. We'll be here forever. But Elvis, after 42 years of dedication to music, he's gone. Finished.
208. Radio Luxembourg.
I just can't help believing, ladies and gentlemen, that Elvis Presley, the legendary and the true king of rock and roll, is dead. We now have a full report from the Daily Mirror news desk. Elvis Presley, the legendary king of rock and roll, died suddenly in hospital at Memphis, Tennessee tonight. He was 42. Elvis was rushed to the emergency room at the Baptist Hospital from his mansion nearby. I've been to that mansion, and so have many, many fans from Britain and all over the world. Now the mansion holds nothing but trophies. The cause of Elvis Presley's death was said to be respiratory failure. Presley had been ill for months, as we all knew. Legends grew about him when he hit the top. He had his own private food taster as well as bodyguards. And his generosity was such that he used to give Cadillacs away as presents to his friends and aides. Although the Beatles went ahead of him in popularity in the 60s, Presley still stayed at the top of the pop business. He had more than 30 gold records, million sellers. He also appeared in about 25 films. The Elvis Presley National Fan Club once boasted 400,000 members all over the world. Radio Luxembourg was the first radio station in Europe to ever feature Elvis Presley. We were the first radio station in the world ever to go out and get to grips with the impossible, interviewing Elvis and bringing him to you with the words that, yes, thank them for their loyalty in Great Britain and Europe, and tell them we got to get over there. I promise, one day we'll visit them. That promise has not been able to have been fulfilled, but that was probably no fault of Elvis. And maybe now in reflection, when we say, why won't Elvis come and visit us here, and why hasn't Elvis come, and all the rumors have gone, maybe we can look at his health and say, well, maybe that was the real reason. It really doesn't matter in retrospect, because Elvis was Elvis, as many people remember him, prior to the Beatles, when he brought music into the life of the common people and made a common denominator of music, something that we could all associate with. He was then what punk rock is now. He was in 1956 what the Beatles were in 1963. Elvis Presley was the first, and probably the foremost in popular music. But tonight on Radio Luxembourg, we have to inform the world that he no longer exists on our planet. We have only his recordings. Tonight on Luxembourg, we feature nothing but Elvis till close down at 3:45, including in which we'll feature his latest recordings, his brand new album. But for the main, Elvis as we remember him. Elvis is the king of rock and roll. And can I, Tony Prince, say, on behalf of a radio station who has lived on him as much as he has lived on us, say, God bless Elvis Presley.
It's beautiful.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are lonesome tonight. Whether you were a staunch Elvis Presley fan or not, maybe you will appreciate what it means. It's a little bit previous for the man to die. We thought he'd live till about 60, 70, 80, 90, or maybe 3,000. But nobody expected him to die today. Elvis Presley is dead. The following statement has just been issued by Memphis Baptist Hospital concerning Presley's death, and it comes direct from the Radio Luxembourg news desk, where our London editor tonight is Charlie Brooks, on this historic occasion in music. Elvis Presley was found unconscious at his home by his road manager, Joe Esposito. Mr. Esposito indicated that he could not find that Mr. Presley was breathing, nor could he detect a heartbeat. He began emergency resuscitation efforts and called the fire department ambulance. The Memphis Fire Department ambulance continued cardiopulmonary resuscitation on the way to the hospital. The hospital emergency resuscitation team began working with Mr. Presley and continued their effort until Mr. Presley's personal physician, Dr. George C. Nikopoulos, discontinued efforts. Dr. Nikopoulos indicated that a heart attack was a possible cause of death, but this could not be known for sure until a post-mortem examination is completed. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis Presley died at 2:30 today. Radio Luxembourg only just heard the news prior to my show. I'm continuing with music of Elvis till 3:45 this morning. Elvis Presley is dead. There is nothing surer. Within a half an hour from now, I'll be opening up the telephone lines for any Elvis Presley fans who want to make comment, put their condolences through our radio station. But you remember when President Kennedy died, years later people said, do you remember where you were when you first heard the news that Kennedy was dead? And of course, we all did. Remember where you are now. Because if you're feeling like me in a deep state of shock, then in a few years from now, you will remember that you were listening to the first radio station in Europe to ever play Radio Luxembourg's #1 star, Elvis Presley. You were listening to The Tony Prince Show. Tonight, I have received permission from our sales department to cancel all commercials on this station as a sign of tribute and respect for Elvis Presley. And calculating what we had in store for you in the way of commercials, we have just given up £10,000 as a sign of respect for Elvis Presley.
Radio Luxembourg.
This is Radio Luxembourg at 22 minutes to midnight on a very, very important date in the history of music. An unfortunate date, a date nobody ever anticipated to be such. But Elvis Presley is dead. He died today, August the 16th, 1977. And you're listening to a historic radio recording. If you're recording it, and I'm sure a lot of Elvis Presley fans are. What can I say? I've met Elvis twice. My wife met him once. And everybody says, what's it like? Or what was it like, they'll say in the future, meeting Elvis Presley? It was a very auspicious occasion. But I wasn't the only one to meet Elvis. I only went along with 250 Elvis Presley fan club members both years that I visited Las Vegas to see him in live performance at the Hilton Hotel in Las Vegas. I suppose it was more getting on well with Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis Presley's manager, than anything else that managed to procure the visit to the dressing room, which everybody dreamed of. It was also thanks to a guy called Todd Slaughter, Elvis's loyal friend. And a lot of people haven't believed that over the years, but I can confirm, and many, many thousands of fans can confirm, that Elvis never had a more loyal leader of his army than Todd Slaughter. And Todd asked me to go across to America because he knew I was a big Elvis fan, and I went across. And we didn't think we'd even meet Elvis. And it was Todd's first time in America. And we got to meet the man. We went downstairs into the dressing room, and he came in, and he's everything you ever believed he would be. He was magnificent. He looked great. He was ever so polite and nice and kind. And he spoke into my microphone. But unfortunately, I was so nervous and my head wasn't together that the recording wasn't very good. However, I played the recording on Luxembourg, and the mumble-jumble of Elvis came out on Radio Luxembourg as the first authentic Elvis Presley interview from Las Vegas. What's it like meeting Elvis has now become, what was it like meeting Elvis? Well, we'll explore it later tonight because I'm trying to contact Todd Slaughter now, at this very moment, on the telephone, and get his immediate reactions at the news that Elvis Presley is dead. If you've just tuned in, I'm very much afraid it's true. But this is going out for the many fans of the fan club members who went out to Las Vegas with me for 2 years, and then Todd took them a third year. And let's think about those who've already booked their trip for next year, who probably won't now be going. We sat in the audience. The curtains parted, and there was a dim suggestion of an orchestra. And this is the music they played. And you can imagine, if you were an Elvis Presley fan, sitting in that audience and having spent your lifelong earnings, your savings, on going to America simply, not to see America, but to see Elvis Presley. And this music titillated and tantalized you, because you knew your ambition was coming true in seconds. The man who woke you up to music was going to walk on stage, and you were literally going to be yards away from him and enjoy his performance for 1 hour. From the Hilton Hotel, Las Vegas, Elvis Presley. That's the way he did it in Las Vegas, and it's also the way he did it on the track I played for you tonight. Aloha from Hawaii. Elvis round the world via satellite. Well, finally my bones are turning back to bones again. Just an hour ago, they were turned to jelly when I walked into the radio station ready to do a normal music format. And I was told by my colleague Mark Wesley, who in turn had been told by the Daily Mirror, that Elvis Presley was dead. My shock could have only been compared to the shock of hearing my father had died, or somebody else to that degree of love and warmth that I feel for people. Because a strange man, Elvis Presley, we never did understand why he never came over here, and I could never really find rhyme or reason for it. But now, all those rumors about his health seem to point to maybe that was something to do with why he never came. But it never mattered, really. That's what I always said, because he'd been here. We'd seen him on the telly and in films and his records and fell in love with him. And why should we demand that he come where he doesn't want to do? It didn't really matter. But it's sad, I suppose, that many people who had the ambition of seeing Elvis Presley live one day in their life, and I know there are many, many thousands, maybe millions who still dreamed of that, it's not going to come true anymore. Because today Elvis Presley died, and if you've just tuned into Luxembourg because you know that we're Elvis's #1 fan, maybe you've looked to us for a little confirmation. Maybe you looked to us tonight to hear the news that it wasn't true, that it was some sick joke. Well, it's not a sick joke. Elvis Presley died today. 11 minutes to go on the day of Elvis Presley's death. And I can now read for you the copy sent to us tonight by Charlie Brooks, our Radio Luxembourg Daily Mirror news reporter from Fleet Street. So this is official, and it goes as follows. Elvis Presley, the legendary king of rock and roll, died suddenly in hospital at Memphis, Tennessee tonight. He was 42 years old. Elvis was rushed to the emergency room at the Baptist Hospital from his mansion nearby. The cause of death was said to be respiratory failure. Presley had been ill for months. Legends grew up about him when he hit the top. He had his own private food taster, as well as bodyguards. And his own generosity was such that he used to give Cadillacs away as presents to his friends and aides. Although the Beatles went ahead of him in popularity in the 60s, Presley still stayed at the top of the pop business. He had more than 30 gold records, the million sellers, every one of them. He also appeared in about 25 films. The Elvis Presley National Fan Club once boasted 400,000 members all over the world. And now, updating that statement, the following statement has just been issued by Memphis Baptist Hospital concerning the death of Elvis Presley. And it reads as follows. Elvis Presley was found unconscious at his home by his road manager, Joe Esposito. The hospital emergency resuscitation team began working with Mr. Presley and continued their effort until Mr. Elvis Presley's personal physician, Dr. George C. Nikopoulos, discontinued efforts. Dr. Nikopoulos indicated that a heart attack was a possible cause of death, but this could not be known for sure until a post-mortem examination is completed. Well, what can I say?
Big Ed, all through the night.
6 minutes to midnight, Viva Las Vegas, and I'm really still very broke up, and I will be for a few days. I tell you, Elvis Presley, dead. I couldn't believe it when I walked into the studio an hour ago and Mark Wesley laid that one on me. I thought, come on, what's the joke? But it's a true joke. It is a joke, too. At 42, the man who meant most to rock and roll. Even Paul McCartney, John Lennon said if Elvis hadn't been around, they wouldn't have been around. That pretty well summarizes what Elvis Presley meant to the world of music. And Las Vegas, probably in the last 10 years of Elvis's career, probably meant more to him. Probably it was a haven. Maybe he decided Vegas and Lake Tahoe up there in the west coast of America were the best places for his health. Now we're going to find out, maybe. Maybe Colonel Tom Parker will at last tell us the truth. But Elvis Presley is dead. Elvis the King and One Broken Heart for Sale. I hope I got somebody on the telephone. Wait a minute, I've got to...
Nacht this morning.
Ooh, we don't want the Germans. Wait a minute, they're probably talking about Elvis as well. Do I have to open a channel here, Mark, on the desk? Do you know which one it is? Okay, Mark Wesley's going to help me out. Steve Allen, can you hear me? We still don't have Steve Allen on the phone. Hello, does Steve Allen hear me? Mm-hmm. We're trying to find Steve Allen. No, that's the Germans, Mark.
But they're nice. I like them.
Right.
Wait a second. Let's see what this is.
No, I don't. Steve, can you hear me on the telephone? There we go. Steve Allen?
There.
How about that? Steve Allen? Hello? Okay, we're having a little bit of trouble with the telephone lines on Luxembourg, mainly because they're so jammed. I'd like to apologize to our friend Steve Allen, an Elvis Presley fan, who just phoned up to make his comments on the death of Elvis Presley. But we don't have any success at the moment, so we'll get our chief engineer, Charlie, up here, and we'll have you on the air right after the news. News at midnight, Insight.
Radio Luxembourg.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's exactly midnight on Radio Luxembourg, August the 16th, 1977. The day and the year of Elvis Presley's death. Elvis Presley died today in hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, only a few miles away from his beautiful mansion. This is the news, and the only news we're talking about on Luxembourg tonight.
208 Great Britain.
Tonight we hear that Elvis Presley is dead, and I think we have somebody on the telephone. Hello?
Hello?
Are you phoning about Elvis Presley?
Oh, yes, I am. My friend from America rang me up 15 minutes ago with some information that they got on their news.
Yes.
And it said that he got out of his bed to go to the restroom and he fell unconscious. And Vernon rang the ambulance people, and they arrived. And it took 7 minutes to reach the hospital, and he was dead on arrival. That's the story that they're getting over there at the moment.
Well, that sounds like it could very well be a true story, sweetheart, because we have the news that he was rushed to a hospital in an ambulance, and when they got there was absolutely nothing they could do because his heart wasn't beating, and they tried cardiopulmonary treatment, resuscitation treatment, and nothing happened. Are you an Elvis Presley fan?
Yes, I am actually. It happens.
How did you feel when you heard the news?
I was shocked, and when my friend rang me up, she was in tears on the other end.
I suppose maybe like me, you couldn't believe it.
No, I couldn't. When they gave it out on ITV, on the ITV News, I couldn't believe it, and I hoped it wasn't true. And then I rang the Daily Mirror, and they said they couldn't confirm it yet.
Well, now we can confirm it from the Daily Mirror. What's your name?
It's Ruth Dickinson.
And where are you calling from, sweetheart?
London.
Well, I just want to say, if I can get rid of my feedback, that what you're feeling tonight is only enhanced what I'm feeling, or what a million, maybe the whole world are feeling.
It does.
It's a terrific loss, isn't it?
Okay, then.
Thank you for calling, and thank you for your information.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night, darling.
Colourful Radio Luxembourg.
And now we're back on the telephone line. This is Radio Luxembourg, and we're inviting you to call in with your immediate reactions to the death of Elvis Presley. Hello, who am I talking to now? Hello? Hello, am I talking to anybody now? No, I'm not talking to anybody now. Wait a minute. Hello, I'm sorry about that. Who am I talking to?
Hello, Paul Nicholas. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Paul. And where are you calling from?
From Ledbury in Herefordshire.
Ledbury in Herefordshire. And are you an Elvis Presley fan?
Well, not a tremendous one at the moment, being more of a fan of his earlier on.
Yeah.
I think, as you say, it's the end of an era. And I just felt like phoning up and expressing my feelings. I think the record for me that was always the one which was most evocative was Girl of My Best Friend.
I'll be playing that later on, Paul.
Yeah. I suppose all of us have got particular favourites of his.
How old are you, Paul?
Me, 32. It's terrible age.
Welcome to the club. But I guess you, like me, were just waking up to pop music when Elvis started screaming Heartbreak Hotel and what have you.
Well, that's right, yes. And I must admit that that was the Elvis that I particularly favoured compared with the later years, but it is a loss.
When did you hear the news of Elvis's death, Paul?
Pardon?
When did you hear the news of Elvis's death?
Well, I'm decorating the house at the moment. The wife and the children are all down in the country, and I'm painting like mad, and I just couldn't believe it. It was on the national channels, and I switched on to Luxembourg immediately, knowing that if any program would be covering it fully, it would be you.
Yeah.
And straight away, when you came on, I heard you as soon as you came on.
Right. Did you ever have any ambition? As you said, you probably feel a little bit like I do, Paul. I wasn't red hot for Elvis through those film days. Although I think he booked up and pulled his socks up in the last couple of years. He really did some nice stuff.
Yeah.
But you, like me, were touched very much by the rock and roll, probably, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very much a sort of rock and roll or even blues fan, and his early stuff was very bluesish, and that's the sort of stuff that I liked.
Right, that's what he was touched with himself, the blues. Did you ever hope to see him live in concert?
Well, by the time I could have afforded to think about such things, as you say, he was into the film stage, and it had faded a wee bit. But I think early on, yes, that would have been something. And as you were saying earlier on, everybody wanted him to come over, and it was always the thing, in school and all the rest of it. Why doesn't Elvis come over?
Yeah.
But well, there you are. He never did.
Now maybe we're going to get the answer. Maybe it was something to do with his health. You never know.
Yeah.
Paul from Ledbury in Hertfordshire, papering your house tonight, doing your thing. I thank you for calling.
As you say, I'll always remember what I was doing tonight.
Yeah, you will indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. I'll remember you calling.
Okay.
Good night. Thank you very much. That was Paul from Ledbury in Hertfordshire. You just tuned in. Let me just give you the bad news. There is no good news. Simply that Elvis Presley is dead. Who do we have on the phone here? Just 1 minute, darling. I'll put you on the air in a moment. I've already been in touch with Todd Slaughter, Elvis Presley's fan club secretary, but we got cut off, unfortunately. His phone is like a hot iron, because every member of the press all over the British nation are trying to get comments from Todd. But I promise you, before the end of the show, Todd will be on the air and will express his ultimate hurt. Now it's time for Elvis Presley and a song which will probably be the Title of this show tonight, I just can't help believing. And my voice changes tone because I'm on a telephone line and I'm talking to somebody I don't know your name. Hello? There we go, now I got you. Hello, who are you?
Thank you very much.
What's your name?
Oh, I'm only a boy who's like him very much from Sweden.
You're phoning from Sweden. You're an Elvis Presley fan?
Yes, I'm playing music by myself. Elvis music.
Okay. Well, thank you very much indeed for calling. Thank you very much indeed. There's a call from Sweden, and I want to say we've also had a telex message. And I can't read it out in full, but it's from the Royal Air Force Army, and I won't say where in the world, because maybe for security reasons they don't want to reprint, but that's what they say here. But the message is, we express deepest condolences over the death of Elvis Presley. Could you please inform us if the program tonight will be extended further than 3:45 British summertime? Well, unfortunately, no, it won't. But we've cancelled all our other programming plans. We've also cancelled £10,000 worth of commercials as a tribute and a sign of respect to a man who meant more to this station than any other single person in the world, including our managing director, Alan Keane, who's been so kind tonight to realize what a very heavy bit of news we've received. Elvis Presley and his death. But we do have somebody else on the telephone now, I do believe. Hello?
Hello, Tony.
Who are you?
My name is Mike Longley from Gloucester, England.
Thank you for calling.
Pardon?
I say thank you for calling, Mike.
Yes, I'm just happy in Gloucester. I'd just like to express my deepest sympathy for Elvis Presley's death. It's a great loss to the music industry, I believe.
How old are you, in fact, Mike?
I'm 26.
Oh, you just caught the latter end of the big rock and roll era, then?
I did, yes. But I've enjoyed his music ever since, and I've got sort of all his old records anyway.
And you're a disc jockey in Gloucester?
I am, yes.
You've got a lot of Teddy Boys and rock and roll fans in Gloucester. I've been there on gigs many times, and the Drakes come out. Is that right?
That's correct, yes. That's quite right. You've been down to the roundabout, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, yes, I have.
I've worked there, actually, a couple of times.
It might be a soppy question, Mike, but I'm a soppy person, really. Those Teddy Boys who appear to be very, very heavy, and we hear about them going down King's Road and causing aggro, but maybe you working with those guys, the Elvis Presley fans and the Teddy Boy fans, maybe you can confirm what I feel, that they've got a heart of candy. They're really soft at heart, and they'll be broke up like heck tonight.
I totally agree with you, yes. Yes, wholeheartedly on that. There's nothing wrong with the Teddy Boys at all.
No, nothing at all.
But a very tragic crowd, I think.
And their hero is dead. Mike, what's your second name?
My name is Mike Longley.
Mike Longley from Gloucester. Keep playing the Elvis music.
I will.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye,
Good night, Mike. Okay, if there's anybody who wants to phone me at Radio Luxembourg at the news of Elvis's death and give your immediate reactions, I don't care if you just want to cry on the radio. I don't care what. Todd Slaughter, the Elvis Presley Fan Club Secretary, will be talking on the air before the end of the show. We'll be getting Todd's immediate reactions because, more than anyone, apart from Elvis's immediate friends, management, record company level, Todd's whole world is suddenly, in my estimation, put in jeopardy. But I don't know about that. I think maybe the Elvis Presley Fan Club will live on forever and ever and ever, and Todd Slaughter should receive employment from it for quite a while. But let's see what Todd says later on. Now we've got another caller on the air, and I'd like to say hello to... Hello, who am I talking to? Hello?
It's Jill Nuttall.
Jill from where?
I'm from Chelmsford.
From Chelmsford?
Yeah, we were working on the 1973.
In 73?
Yeah, 73.
Okay, well, let's just tell the listeners what happened in 73. What happened in 73, Jill?
We went over with you. I think it was your first visit.
That's right.
And to see Elvis. And you got in there with an interview. I'm a bit shook up tonight, you know. Like everybody else.
Yeah.
Fantastic time. Absolutely incredible. Been waiting for 17 years to see him. And he was everything I expected him to be.
Yeah.
And I want to remember Stu and Barry.
Okay.
With Barry Ann, but, you know, all I can say tonight is, all I want to say is thank you, Elvis. And I hope you're somewhere around.
Okay. Maybe he's listening somewhere, Jill.
Well, we've got a perfect standing chancer, so I guess he's up there somewhere.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have another fan club convention in heaven someday.
I hope so.
In the meantime, Jill, long live the king, and thank you. Thank you for being a great member of the Elvis Presley Fan Club Secretary. Jill from Chelmsford in 73, she went all the way to America, spent her savings with another 250 pounds just to see the man.
Ooh, Radio Luxembourg.
I can't believe it. Elvis Presley is dead. I believe Mark Wesley, who's helping me tonight so very, very indubitably, is talking to the man, as I've already said on the radio tonight, Radio Luxembourg was the first radio station in Europe to ever bring you the music of Elvis Presley. It is in the annals of pop history that we were the first. The man who was first to play Elvis Presley on Radio Luxembourg was Jimmy Savile. He's now on a telephone line. Can I get him on the air, Mark? He's on a wrong line, I believe. He's on the external line. But Jimmy Savile is now on the line to Radio Luxembourg, and I don't know, Mark's talking to him in the other room. Maybe Jimmy will phone us on the other number. I don't know. But now we've got somebody else on the line on the evening of the day that we say Elvis Presley is dead. Hello, who am I talking to this time?
Hello?
Hello?
This is Eileen Leahy from Shanklin on the Isle of Wight.
What's your first name, love?
Eileen.
Eileen from the Isle of Wight.
That's right, yeah.
When did you hear the news, Eileen?
On the 10 o'clock news. ITV News.
On the television?
Yeah.
What did you say to yourself?
I just couldn't believe it.
What did you do when you heard it?
Pardon?
What did you do when you heard Elvis was dead?
Burst out crying.
Are you a big Elvis fan?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
That's why you've tuned into Luxembourg now, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. My one wish was to see him sometime in England, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I come from Ireland, really, but...
You live on the Isle of Wight. What did you really think, Eileen, about Elvis's decision not to come to Britain, or non-decision, really, because he never really went to quote on why he wouldn't come over here. What were your personal feelings as to why Elvis didn't come over to Europe and Great Britain?
Well, I just thought he'd come, you know, one day. I didn't really know why he didn't want to come, whether he wouldn't fly or, you know, I just sort of told one day he'd come and that'd be it, you know.
Yeah. We all did, I guess, Eileen.
Yeah.
Especially when I went to see him and he said to me, promise them I'll be there one day.
Yeah, I've just been reading, because I'm joining his fan club, you know.
Yes.
And I've just been reading my book, you know, that I get sort of.
Yeah.
And I was reading where all the members were going again, you know, at the end of the year.
You were reading Elvis Monthly?
That's right, yeah.
Right. Well, listen, sweetheart, I feel that although Elvis is dead, maybe Elvis Monthly and the fan club would continue for many, many years to come. Will you retain your membership after this year?
Yes, I've just just filled in my form to send it away again.
Good. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Eileen. On behalf of the memory of Elvis, Eileen from the Isle of Wight, just off the south coast of Great Britain.
Radio Luxembourg.
Well, a bit of disarray on the radio station tonight. I don't want to keep saying it because it hurts every time I say it. But Elvis Presley is dead, and if you just joined us, I'm sure you've heard on the national news media all over the world. And maybe you've joined us on Radio Luxembourg because you know what great followers of Presley we've been over the years. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for finding us. And I don't need to say what kind of a lump I've got in my throat as I'm doing this show because it's still only 1 hour and 15 minutes or 1 hour 45 minutes since I discovered the news. We've got another caller coming through. Peter Powell's now in the studio helping out. And thank you for coming in, Peter. All the jocks are broke up, as you can well imagine. But now we're going on the telephone and saying hello to who? Hello.
Carol Smith.
Where are you calling from, Carol?
Bagworth in Leicester.
Well, you're very near Todd Slaughter in Leicestershire. What do you think, Carol?
Well, I'm a bit upset, you know. I don't know what to think.
There's not a lot to say, really, Carol, is there?
No.
How old are you?
15.
You a new Elvis Presley fan club member?
Yes.
That's pretty young. What turned you on to Elvis at the age of 15? Because he was like, I can understand why most of us are Elvis fans if we were born in the rock and roll era. I'm always interested to know what turned people on to Elvis. Like, what age were you when you first started liking Elvis?
Oh, I was very little because my brother collected everything of Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got all his records.
So your brother turned you on to him?
Yes.
I guess that's the case. What did you like specifically about Elvis?
All his films.
You liked his movies?
Yes.
What was your favorite Elvis Presley record of your brother's collection?
Do Not Disturb.
Oh, right. From movie. Okay, Carol, appreciate your call. On behalf of the memory of Elvis, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Good night, Carol. Well, we've got another caller coming through, Peter. If you just switch the blue button, then the orange button, then the red button. Whoa, we got the bleep there. Okay, just put the blue button down, Peter. And I'd like once again, from the Daily Mirror News Desk in London, to read you an official statement which has been issued by the Memphis Baptist Hospital, which was the hospital, a towering white block, a beautiful hospital in the heart of Memphis, just down the road on a boulevard called Elvis Presley Boulevard. I've traveled it, I went by it. I remember the coach driver saying to me and the fans in the coach, that there's the hospital where Priscilla gave birth to Elvis's baby. Well, today that hospital also gave death to Elvis Presley. It wasn't their own fault, from what we hear. By the time he got to hospital, Elvis was dead. And here from the Baptist Hospital in Memphis is the official statement. Elvis Presley was found unconscious at his home by his road manager, Joe Esposito. Mr. Esposito indicated that he could not find that Mr. Presley was breathing, nor could he detect a heartbeat. He began emergency resuscitation efforts and called the fire department ambulance. The Memphis Fire Department ambulance continued cardiopulmonary resuscitation on the way to the hospital. The hospital emergency resuscitation team began working with Mr. Presley and continued their effort until Mr. Presley's personal physician, Dr. George C. Nikopoulos, discontinued his efforts. Dr. Nikopoulos indicated that a heart attack was a possible cause of death, but this could not be known for sure until a post-mortem examination is completed. We hope to have more news for you this morning on the death of Elvis Presley from the Daily Mirror and a fan's reaction on this very, very dastardly date. Am I talking to somebody now? Hello?
There you are.
Who are you?
William Limeliss from Tindurian, of West Wales.
Are you phoning from where, William?
West Wales.
West Wales, and we've got a very bad line, William.
Yes, I'm very sorry.
It's not
We're
your...
all disappointed down here to hear about Elvis's death.
Okay.
Especially Denise Thomas and Nicky Puffo.
I beg your pardon?
Especially Denise Thomas and Nicky Puffo.
William, I appreciate your calling. Thank you very much indeed. William from Wales on a bad line, so we have to discontinue the conversation. However, if you'd like to phone Luxembourg and make your feelings known, and I'm expecting a call anytime from Jimmy Savile, MBE, and Todd Slaughter, Elvis Presley Fan Club Secretary for Britain and Europe. Before the show ends, we're going on till 3:45 with nothing else but the music of the man who made it happen.
Radio Luxembourg.
We're getting calls from all over the world this morning on Radio Luxembourg here in the heart of Europe, and I thank you very much indeed. Now let me just say this. If you're an Elvis fan, even if you're not, doesn't really matter. If you want to come on the air and make a statement or weep, I really don't care. Because this show is for Elvis and for his memory, because he died today. And Mark Wesley and Peter Powell are very kindly helping out in the studio, answering the telephone. And I believe we've got a caller right now. Mark says we're getting calls from all over the world, and I'd like to say hi to... Who am I talking to this time?
Barbara Smith.
I beg your pardon?
Barbara Smith.
Where are you calling from, Barbara?
I'm calling from Bielefeld.
From Germany?
Yeah, Bielefeld in Germany.
Okay, Barbara. Well, as you know, Elvis Presley spent some time in Germany. And there are you in Germany now. How long have you been?
Bielefeld.
In Bielefeld. That's a base, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
a Air Force base.
No, it's Army.
It's Army base, right? Well, as you know, Elvis was based in Germany, not too far from Bielefeld, and not too far from Luxembourg. How long have you been in Bielefeld, Barbara?
Since September last year.
How old are you, Barbara? That's not an impersonal question.
19.
19. And
Maybe
you're
20.
an Elvis fan?
Yeah, very much so.
And when did you hear the news tonight?
Sorry?
When did you hear the news of
When I
Elvis?
came in from the disco.
And which radio station were you listening to?
Luxembourg.
So we broke the news to you. I'm very sorry about that, Barbara. You anything to say?
Yeah, I'd like to say I think I hear a lot of Elvis.
Yeah.
And from all 4 squadrons
Mm-hmm.
in 16 Signal Regiment. And I'd like to say that Paul Hogan's got nothing against him. He's going to be the best throughout all the years. And nobody's going to win past him.
Thank you very much.
He's the greatest. And he'll live for years.
Okay. Love in the Live Hereafter to Elvis from Barbara in Bielefeld on behalf of her squadron, who are all probably tuned in tonight. And they're going to be a little idle on parade tomorrow because this kind of shock, if you're an Elvis fan, is going to keep you awake. And thank God I'm working till 4:45 here in Luxembourg because I wouldn't sleep myself. I tell you, I'm really broke up about it. Peter Powell is standing by me, and Peter, we just contacted him by telephone. When did you hear the news, Peter?
Tony, I heard it in one of the local discotheques. Someone came down and said, I've just been listening to Luxembourg, your station, and Tony Prince, or at least Mark Wesley, has just announced on the news that Elvis Presley has died. Luckily, confirmation came from Mark himself about 5 minutes later that you were on the air doing this special. If I could just say a few words. I'm very fortunate to be near to a microphone to be able to express my deepest regret and indeed sympathy for family and close relations of Elvis Presley, and perhaps more important, people who I've met around the country who are his fans. I wasn't necessarily an Elvis Presley fan myself, not of his music, but certainly I had deep respect and what's the dismay. No, respect for his aura, the way he carried himself, the way he was king of rock and roll, and of what he did for the music business generally around the world, because indeed he was worldwide. He was the king of rock and roll, and for that I appreciate him, and I'm very, very sorry in my own way that he's passed on. It's a terrific shock to everybody who likes music like I do, and to you, of course, yourself.
So shot out of the black, that Elvis Presley will never be back on a stage on planet Earth. But forever, and make no mistake, as long as this planet lives, the memory of Elvis Presley will live. Rather like the memory of great presidents will live, because he was the ultimate president of music. And another colleague of mine who's hanging in tonight and should have been in bed, but is so deeply distressed as I am, and a guy who also traveled the Atlantic specifically to see Elvis Presley with the fan club, he's here now.
Yeah.
Mark Wesley. Mark, you had the awful and disastrous, distasteful job tonight of telling the world that Elvis was dead. What did you think when you saw the news on telex?
It didn't, in fact, come through on telex. The only telexes I saw were in German, which I don't understand, nor in French, and a man came in here and said, can you confirm, in bad English, can you confirm that Elvis is dead? And I looked at the man, and we'd had reports through before, which we were about to put on air many times, that Elvis has been dead.
Oh, not just that, other things which you hold back on.
You hold back on, and our normal process is then to confirm with the Daily Mirror, and they give us the truth about what's really happening. Then we either tell you or we don't, if we know we have some facts. Well, I had the news, as I said, sort of sprinkled to me via various foreign sources in the building, because the building is sort of full of foreigners, as you can imagine, various other services. And I said, just a minute, I'll call the Daily Mirror. And I called our friend Charlie Brooks, who handles our affairs there with the news. And he said, well, as a matter of fact, it has been confirmed just at this moment, although I've already sent you this evening's news for this particular hour. It was perhaps 10 or 11 o'clock this evening. He said, but now I can confirm it, and he gave me a few details. Well, you know the rest, because obviously you've been listening to Tony. And I was doing the Top 30 show at the time, and I think a lot of DJs like to be able to remember that they were the first DJ to do something or other on radio, and I must say that this is not something that I would like to particularly boast about, but I was absolutely incapable of... I wanted to say something then and there, about 10 minutes before the news, but I couldn't think of anything to say.
It would probably sound too callous if you boasted about being the first to express
you know what I mean,
that Elvis was dead. But in years from now, maybe, history goes by and people forget, but it's not a bad claim to fame.
It's a horrifying thing. I'm not a great Elvis Presley fan. I loved his music perhaps in the way that you did, Tony, in the past, not so much when he went into the ballads, and now he got back into more pop-orientated things, which I preferred.
Do you know what I personally adore more than Elvis, or adored more than Elvis, was the fans who adored him.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
You talk about
You've travelled with them,
fans,
I've travelled with them.
You talk about bass roller fans, Osmond fans, they just do not come anywhere near for loyalty. You've travelled to America with a couple of hundred of them, haven't you?
Yes, I certainly have.
They are unique.
I couldn't believe it. I was a bit frightened when I first met my first crowd of Elvis Presley fans, because I thought, good heavens, what kind of people can these possibly be? And it turns out they were just normal people who had this incredible hobby, and they'd saved up to go and see Elvis, their idol, their mentor almost, their guru to some degree. For them, it was a way of life.
Yeah.
And I saw Elvis Presley, as you did, on stage in Las Vegas, and his voice, it was in the latter part of his career, naturally, but his voice was as good as it ever was, and he sang those songs, and he performed. and he handed out those scarves covered in sweat. You remember he crossed his brow with them, and all the girls would go screaming to the front of the stage. And
yeah, they were the ones with millionaire fathers.
Weren't they just?
You know,
they
the ones...
tipped the waiters to get down the front row.
Exactly. We'll explain to the listeners that at the hotel, the Hilton Hotel in Las Vegas, if you want to go into an Elvis Presley show, it's very cheap. It really is if you take
it in.
See him. I mean, I think it's about $15 or something like that to go in and see Elvis. And
you get beers beers or something like that.
You get a steak.
Oh, yes.
Or you get 2 bottles of champagne.
That's right.
It depends which show you go to, right? The 2 shows a night. And I'm putting this in present tense. It's very difficult to break away. I'm putting it in past tense, and I'm sure the listeners will forgive me. But the point being... that the Hilton thing was a bit of a farce, because these kids came from all over the world to see Elvis, and the true fans were shoved at the back, and the ones with the money who could tip the waiters the most happened to get up to the front. I don't want to be quoted on this in any way, but there you go, it's gone out on the air now, and I'll probably get a libel note from the Hilton hotel chain, but it's true, it exists, and we can prove it, because we've been there and seen it. But I would say that the year I went, the 2 years I went, that Colonel Parker really was magnanimous in looking after the fans, specifically the first year. He put us all about 3 rows from the front, which was marvelous. I mean, really. And the point being about the Hilton, the reason they booked Elvis and could pay him such a fortune wasn't because they could make it on the door or on the booze, like most entertainment chains work these days. It was because to get to the Hilton showroom, you had to walk past all the gambling tables, the one-armed bandits.
A gauntlet of one-armed bandits, right?
That's
You had to run the gauntlet of one-armed bandits, and you didn't reach Elvis with a cent in your pocket.
Now, let me just say something about Colonel Parker and Elvis. Now, they could have given us the cold shoulder, the Elvis Presley fans who traveled from Britain and Europe to see him that year, and the following year, and the following year, but never. I mean, relatively speaking, they were super hospitable. The first year we went there, I managed, with Todd Slaughter's help, to get up to Colonel Parker's suite, second floor of the Hilton Hotel. They took up the whole suite, and Elvis took up the top floor. And he welcomed us with open arms. And I wondered whether the fans would get to see Elvis. Well, they didn't get to see Elvis, but the Colonel let every one of them come into his suite and walk through all the Elvis memorabilia he had showing around the corridors and what have you. I mean, 250 people going up in lifts, and Colonel standing there giving them hound dogs and paper hats with I Love Elvis.
The size of the people.
Giving them to them, you know. I mean, okay, he didn't want, he's a manager. He didn't want to put Elvis through that because it happens every day. But the Colonel put himself through it. And I stood there next to the Colonel, and Todd did, and we gave away the goodies, and we showed them all through the offices how everything worked. And the Colonel was absolutely superb. That's all I can say. Colonel Parker, 10 out of 10. And I know more than anyone, probably more than Elvis, the Colonel wanted Elvis to come over here to Great Britain. We'll be talking to Todd Slaughter later on. I think we'll have another Elvis record, huh? Shall we?
Yeah.
And after this, we've got the official news from the Daily Mirror, the full 5-minute saga, and the full truth of the Elvis Presley death.
The rhythm of nightlife in Great Britain.